America, the home of apple pie, hot dogs and baseball. It's also home to some very strange laws. Coming up, we'll look at the bizarre, the outdated and the just plain strange in 10 of America's weirdest laws.
Do you come from a land down under? Oh, where women glow and men plunder. Oh, can you hear the thunder? Oh, you better run, you better take cover. Oh.
Most road rules across the US make sense. Stick to the speed limit, use your indicator, don't run a red light. But driving blindfolded? It is written into law in the heart of Dixie that you cannot wear a blindfold whilst driving a vehicle. That's right, it's a crime to strap a blindfold on while you're behind the wheel. The regulation is actually part of a broader law meant to ensure that drivers follow visibility requirements. Whether it's a blindfold, a passenger, or another object, nothing can obstruct your view whilst you're driving. So when you look at it that way, I guess it kind of makes sense. The blindfold regulation, though, isn't the only odd driving law in Alabama. There's another one that requires you to attach a lantern to the front of your car if you drive in the wrong direction on a one-way street. Alabama also has a problem with juggling. That's right, it is illegal to juggle whilst driving in Alabama. Personally, I'd like to see someone do all of these at once. Juggle whilst driving down the wrong way, down a one-way street, blindfolded. Who doesn't like a good piece of pie? Well, if you're in Louisiana, best not to send someone a surprise pizza, or you could be hit by a $500 fine. This act is actually illegal according to the Louisiana revised statutes. This law, known as the Telephone Communications Improper Language Harassment or Discrimination Prohibited Statute, was enacted with the aim of protecting individuals from various forms of harassment, including unwanted delivery services. According to the statute, it is considered a criminal offense to knowingly make, cause to be made, or allow the making of a telephone call for the purpose of harassment, embarrassment, or any other criminal activity. This includes sending surprise delivery pizzas to someone without their consent. In the state of Vermont, women must get written permission first from their husbands if they want to get false teeth. It's a law that's been in place since 1856, and whilst dentists in Vermont no longer enforce the law, it is something that remains on the books and is yet to be overturned. Vermont is also one of 4 states in the US that has outlawed billboards along their highways. It's a law that was passed in 1968 to preserve the beautiful scenery of the Green Mountain State. Vermont had several laws that could make this list, including it previously being illegal to tie a giraffe to a telephone pole. In 1992, the state of Georgia made it illegal to spend more than 30 days on a boat in one calendar year. Run down floating houses along the Altamaha River were the reason for this legislation. Residents found these houseboats ugly and were concerned about the effect on the environment. For years after its passage, the liveaboard law made a lot of boat enthusiasts upset. It was especially tough for boaters from Florida who sailed north to escape hurricanes. Many of these people sailed straight through to South Carolina, where there were no such liveaboard restrictions. There was the issue of how to enforce this law. Would police officers have to watch all boats and make sure their owners got off within 30 days? And even if Georgia had the greatest police force on the planet, they probably wouldn't dedicate precious resources to enforcing such a benign misdemeanor. Whilst it's somewhat uncommon for divorced couples to reconcile and remarry, Kentucky legislators decided that they should place limits on true love. A woman in Kentucky can't remarry the same man 4 times. Now in Delaware, it's legal to obtain an annulment if you've got married on a dare or as a prank. And in Utah, keeping it all in the family by marrying your first cousin is legal once you both reach the age of 65. In the state of New Hampshire, it is illegal to collect seaweed from public beaches at night. This was introduced as a result of seaweed's relatively lucrative resale value in some contexts. Farmers used to haul seaweed from beaches to use as fertilizer on their cornfields. In the 1700s, a town ordinance banned the practice at night in order to give everyone an equal chance to harvest it. The Granite State has a few other strange rules too, including the need to fit cattle with devices to collect feces should they be crossing state roads. It's also illegal there to sell the clothes you are wearing to settle a gambling debt. I guess that means you can't bet the shirt off your back. In Oregon, the case of a hunter harvesting animals on cemetery ground led to a law banning such activities on sacred soil. Hunting in cemeteries is prohibited primarily out of respect for the deceased and their families. Cemeteries are considered sacred and solemn places where people come to mourn and remember their loved ones. Allowing hunting in such areas would be seen as highly disrespectful and disruptive. Cemeteries are often located in or near residential areas, and hunting in those locations could pose safety risks to the public. The prohibition of hunting in cemeteries helps to ensure that these spaces remain peaceful and safe for everyone. Due to old laws on the books in South Carolina, anyone under 18 years of age playing pinball machines is actually breaking the law. Pinball was associated with gambling almost 100 years ago, with many states banning the game for anyone. That ban went away, but for South Carolina, it came back as a prohibition on the game for anyone under the age of 18. Some parents feared that their children were spending too much money to play. This is one law that they are actually currently trying to have changed, especially given the rise of home video games and now how popular pinball tournaments have become. If you are over 12 years old, I have some bad news for you. You cannot trick or treat in Chesapeake City, Virginia. Adults involved in the trick-or-treating festivities must only be accompanying a child and not engaging in trick-or-treating themselves. The under 12s are not totally free from restrictions either, and they will be subjected to an 8 p.m. curfew. Its ordinance code says anyone over 12 who gets caught trick-or-treating or anyone who gets caught after curfew could be charged with a misdemeanor and face fines from $25 up to $100 or up to 6 months in jail. We finish our list with a trip to Washington State and Skamania County. If you ever happen to be in one of the county's many state parks, forests, or wildlife refuges and happen to find the elusive Bigfoot, kill it, and finally prove its existence, two things will happen. First of all, you'll forever be known as the person who proved Bigfoot is real and killed him. And secondly, you'll spend the first 5 years of your fame in jail. Back in 1969, Skamania County created an ordinance which banned people from killing Bigfoot should they ever find it. If they did, it would be considered a felony and the killer would be charged with 5 years in prison. Now, originally, it may have been meant as a joke, as the Board of County Commissioners created the ordinance on April 1st, 1969. However, when more hoaxes came that claimed Bigfoot was real, more people were heading to the Pacific Northwest with the intention to track down and hunt Bigfoot. The county saw plenty of visitors armed with lethal weapons and left the ordinance in place as one way of adding protection to the wider community.